Welcome to the second panel discussion in the Innovate SoCal series from January 2014. This program includes moderator Ted Zoller, panelists Jeff Solomon, Vivian Shimoyama, and Amir Bani Fatemi.
We've got one heck of a panel. I'm going to ask my panelists to come on up here. We're going to be focusing on entrepreneurship education for a while. And the title of the panel is How Do Entrepreneurs Learn? I'm telling you, I'm ADD, and I can tell you entrepreneurs learn the hard way. And I failed in every other respect, so it's not an easy process. So when you think about entrepreneurial learning, what are the things you're starting to think about? I've been an entrepreneur all my life. I've been in education for about 16 years now at the higher education level. And I'll tell you, entrepreneurship is changing more rapidly than I would ever imagine. You always hear the term Moore's Law, right? I think Moore's Law is absolutely applicable to entrepreneurship education because the half-life of entrepreneurship education is probably 1 month before it's aged. So what are some of the trends that are occurring? Democratization, online education and the development of assets online, including Kauffman Founder School, for instance, networks, the bubble we have now in accelerators, and our educational institutions represent full ecosystems, now have full curricula in the community college level. President Oakley, thank you so much for what you're doing here and providing leadership in Long Beach. And then, of course, the higher education institutions. So I've asked the panelists, we've got a terrific panel, and I'm going to clear out of the way. I've challenged them to focus on what I'm calling the 5 Ps. Pedagogy, or what we teach, that's the what. Population, who we're teaching and who we're going to focus on. Platform, where we're going to be doing it, and specifically what structures we can put to work. A plan, I've asked them to more or less hack on how. And then performance, measuring our progress. And I have some terrific folks joining me on the panel. I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves, kind of give a thumbnail on what they're all about and what they've done. But I have Jeff Solomon, who's a co-founder and executive director of Amplify LA, and he's wearing a Startup Weekend t-shirt. I want to call that out.
That's right.
Fantastic. Vivian Shimoyama, who is the regional executive director with Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses Initiative, which is an amazing initiative here. I want to thank you very much for joining us. Thanks. And Amir Bani Fatemi is the managing director with K5 Ventures, and he's the president of an organization regionally that I think is one of the most important regions when we're talking about entrepreneurial ecosystems, the Tech Coast Angels here in Orange County. So I want to just ask you all to just give a quick thumbnail on your backgrounds and how you relate to entrepreneurship education. Should we start with Jeff?
Sure. Thanks for having me. These are the nicest seats I've ever been on a panel for.
Do you feel like a king?
Yeah, they're really cool.
King of the castle.
So my name is Jeff Solomon. I'm a partner at Amplify. We are a startup accelerator in Venice, up in LA. We invest in roughly 25 to 30 companies over a 2-year stretch. In the last 2 years, we've done 26. We try to take pretty early stage companies and help them grow, help them raise more capital. We give them some capital, give them space, and really try to literally accelerate their opportunity. We work with a lot of young founders. I would say there are some guys that are just out of college that are coming into our program. But we really try to teach young guys how to figure out the startup process, as it's complicated. It's not as straightforward as you might think. So that's kind of the spot we sit in.
Very good. Vivian.
Great. Hi, I'm Vivian Shimoyama. It's great to be here, and it's great to see all of you here, whether you be working with the entrepreneur ecosystem, or I actually would love to have our alumni from the 10,000 Small Businesses Program stand, so at least you know of how many alumni we have here, but also if you're sitting at a table with someone, at least you can ask them more questions about their classroom experience. But thank you. We work with Long Beach City College as a Southern California Regional Center for the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses Program. And we deliver a business and management education program at LA City College and Long Beach City College. And it really is focused on businesses that are poised for growth, and also working with them not only on the business and management education side, but also working with what we call our funding partners to look at various ways to get resources to these businesses. And then on the other side of it is you did see some of our alumni. We're building out an alumni program for these scholars, because what we do know is as they're building their businesses, they need to get access to resources.
And Amir.
Thank you very much, and happy to be here as well. Nice place. I've been here last time, was a big convention, but this is good energy today. So I also manage I have a double hat. I co-manage a venture fund which is mostly dedicated to early stage startups. I also was a co-founder of an accelerator in Orange County called K5 Launch. I'm still part of that, but I'm more managing the investment part of that. And also happen to be part of a member of Ticos Angels, which is the Southern California largest angel network, which is probably now in the US, the one that has the most members. I think about 305 members. So the focus really is to invest in early stage companies and get them VC ready. We do that in different ways through the acceleration part, like our friend Jeff in Amplify and other accelerators. But we try to focus more on building product and mostly technology companies and get them up to the $500,000 round funding for mentorship. So this is really the focus, and we try to leverage every possibility we have to connect with universities and other incubators and other players and stakeholders of the community to make it happen. So really the focus is to provide capital to early stage entrepreneurs.
You should just turn the job over to Tech Coast Angels. You guys could figure it out for us, right? It's amazing, incredible organization. So pedagogy, the first P. As I mentioned before, entrepreneurship's in a state of flux. There's a lot of change. We're learning faster than I think we've ever learned. From your experience, I've challenged you all to think about the pedagogical strategies that work the best. So, what's the appropriate mix of classroom versus experiential or hands-on training have the most effect to help people really gain the skills to become successful entrepreneurs? Who would like to tackle that one?
I'll start. We're not necessarily an organization designed to educate for the sole purpose of education. Now that said, I think what we do a lot of is educating entrepreneurs, and the truth is that of the 26 deals that we did in the last 2 years, very few of them are probably going to win. So what those people are going to get that built those companies are going to get more experience and expertise and figuring out what works and doesn't work. So when they do their next startup, they'll be more successful. And I think that's an important role that we play in the ecosystem. And a lot of investors that put money into our fund appreciate that, because they're not investing once. They're investing in the startup ecosystem in the long run. They're going to do many, many deals. And so for us, we want to get wins. Obviously, our investors are there to make a return, but they're also there to continue to cultivate these entrepreneurs so that we have better and better ones. And if you look past the past several decades, in every major entrepreneurial ecosystem, LA, Silicon Valley, Boston, New York, all these areas, the groups keep getting better and better. And what happens is a company grows, it gets an exit, and it spins off a bunch of entrepreneurs. They start companies, some of them fail, they get better the next time around, and it grows and grows and grows. And I think that's part of our role. And to answer your point, it's very experiential from our perspective. It's not classroom oriented. It's testing, trying, failing, succeeding, doing all those things to learn.
Vivian?
So Ted, I can talk more about the experiential side as well as the classroom, because with 10,000 Small Businesses, the program was developed with Babson College, and they deliver some of the top entrepreneur programs in the world. And part of it is that what they found is that if you have a mix of the interactive for the business owners, the entrepreneurs, what they call practical business and management education, it's what they take back into their business when they learn in the classroom, that is really very relevant to them. And so what we find in the classroom, what we do is the experiential learning side, where we not only look at the case studies, but they also work in what we call growth groups, 5 to 7 entrepreneurs together. We have buzz groups for them, and then we have industry groups that they work in. So it's that peer-to-peer learning model that has been very effective for them. And then the other piece of it is the classroom piece, which is the tools. What are the tools that you give these business owners so that they know as they're growing their business that they could go back to what some of the things that they learned in the classroom and actually be objective and take a look at what they put into a business growth plan. How did they look at a feasibility study? Why did they do a 3 to 5 year forecast? So those are the kinds of things that the classroom teaching of the tools as well as the experiential learning has been really effective for the people who've come through the program. And then I would say one other thing as they come out of the program is what we found is over 70% of the individuals that are in the program, the CEO business owners, they either refer business to one another, refer resources to one another, or they get referrals of resources from our ecosystem. So it is about building those relationships while they're one-on-one, but it's also about the learning piece.
Fascinating. Amir, do you have anything to contribute?
Sure. I think entrepreneurial education is itself in a startup phase right now. We're just at the beginning of it, and it's popping everywhere. There are many initiatives, and as a past entrepreneur myself, I've learned the hard way certain realities that was not taught to me in school. So I think entrepreneurship education and pedagogy is a mix of theory and practice, and that practice have to be done by being an entrepreneur. There is no other way. You cannot learn entrepreneurship by not being an entrepreneur. You have to face it, you have to go, you have to fail, you have to start again, you have to experiment. But there is also an opportunity to learn the theory and to put things into context and understand the bigger picture and the macroeconomy of things. So I think pedagogy has to mix both of them. So the meeting between universities and center of education and incubators and accelerators and funders is important, right? To create that mix and to provide a pedagogy which will find its own way in the near future. But I think we're still in the early stages of entrepreneurship education.
So, it seems to me that Amir, Vivian, and Jeff all cited, human capital cited talent and preparing talent. So the next P I challenge the panel to look at is the population. So who, in your view, would be most in need of entrepreneurial education in Southern California, and where would we get the biggest bang for the buck? So profile the target market if we were to attack this that you would go after. Who would want to start?
I would say everyone would benefit from that, but you have to make sure that the next wave of entrepreneurs which are today in middle schools and high schools and college are fully aware, trained, prepared, right, to be part of entrepreneurial community and ecosystem. That would be the first population I would probably invest time and effort on.
Do you think, Amir, they raise their hands, then they're ready to go?
Yeah.
That's the way you would select them. Okay, very good. How about you, Vivian?
So it's interesting, Amir, because I participated in the White House Conference on Small Business some years ago, and we were very focused on entrepreneur education in our education system, whether it be in the grade schools, whether it be in the high schools, whether you move them out to the community colleges or into the higher education system. And so what we found was that was very critical, and you still see some of that happening, but it's not a part of the curriculum. So I totally agree with you. I mean, somewhere along the way, we have to show our young people the path to another way of having a job, and that's creating their own job. But on the side of really looking at some of the businesses that we work with and some of the research that's been shown is the Goldman Sachs Foundation did research before they rolled out the $500 million initiative of this business and management education program. And what they saw is that they identified some criteria of what they considered poised for growth. The business owner had at least 4 employees. They had been in business at least 2 years, and their business had revenue about $150,000 to $4 million. So it's targeted on some research of how they built that curriculum around the elements of how could we take a business to the next level. And so if I just spoke about just one of those elements, it would more be about having employees. What we find in the classroom is it's really critical is you make an investment in your business when you hire employees and when you create those jobs. And when we have these business owners in the classroom talking about the human resources side, talking about the culture of their company, and talking about why is it important to have values and bring those values into your business, that's when you start to see that whole piece of it is why is part of that target criteria the number of employees.
Let me just say one quick thing on that because I'm actually quite passionate about this topic. I think it's absolutely the high schools. I think sub-high school is too young to really absorb and experience. I think it's something you're exposed to, but in high school is where they can actually practice. And this summer, I wanted to sort of test some thoughts around that, and I ran a summer course for high school students in entrepreneurship, and I had 12 students from about 6 different schools around Southern California, both private schools and inner city schools, just like a real mix. And it was a pay-for class, and it was twice a week for 2.5 hours a day for 8 weeks. And these students were amazing, and we really focused on the entrepreneurship as a way of being, and that my goal for them was that some of them may leave wanting to be entrepreneurs, but that if they learn the concepts and principles of how you look at life and look at problems and look at opportunities and challenges from an entrepreneurial perspective, which is how I've sort of built my career in life, you find different ways. And so you may want to be a doctor, but you can be an entrepreneurial doctor. You may want to become a builder. You can be an entrepreneurial builder. So it's a way of being, I think, that you can integrate into whatever it is you want to do, and that's what young people need to learn, in my opinion.
Well, great. I appreciate it. There's such a nuanced kind of set of questions. And it occurs to me the next question that I've challenged the panel to do is be the third P, I call platform. So if you think about it, what institutions, what tools will be needed to build an effective training regimen for Southern California entrepreneurs? So is an online platform enough, or should we leverage Place somehow? What institutions, what organizations would you cobble together to build, our killer system? It's a big question, isn't it?
I mean, you need people, and unfortunately, I've found it to be a challenge to deliver this stuff without people that have experienced it and then sit with those people. Like me with 12 kids, that was about all I could handle. I couldn't do a room of 50. I wouldn't have been able to deliver it, and they wouldn't have absorbed it. And so it's hard to scale that. Like there's only so many guys in my stage that wanted to take the summer and do that. So I don't know exactly how to do it, but I know it does take some people, and maybe there's entrepreneurs that have kind of gotten to a certain point that can kind of come back and like they want to mentor these startups. Maybe they can start mentoring younger people too.
I'm not going to let you off the hook. So how would you scale it, Jeff? So how do we multiply Jeff times 12?
Well, I mean, the video education is clearly working. So I'd probably spend time like trying to build more videos and doing, I really like the model of the flip learning class style where people learn the topic outside of the classroom and then work on the topic inside the classroom. And that does allow the classroom to scale quite a bit because you don't need as much like focus on delivering the content. You can kind of help kids, and kids can actually help each other. So I think that's one way, and if you got great entrepreneurs to deliver more and more video content, you could probably scale it somewhat that way.
Gotcha. What do y'all think?
I think everything is on the internet already. So if somebody wants to pursue and find the content and the knowledge, there's already myriad of content online. The problem is that one doesn't know what they don't know, and you have to have a template, you have to have a roadmap. And the roadmap, as Jeff suggested, comes from other entrepreneurs, right? The best mentors are past entrepreneurs. The best investors are past entrepreneurs because they know, and they can connect, they can understand that context in which you're faced and which entrepreneurs needs to evolve. So whether that entrepreneur is a big corporation and is an intra-entrepreneur in a big corporation or an individual that's trying to launch a new startup, in both cases, they need to have that mentorship, and that mentorship is essential. So I think the tools are going to be tools revolving around a network of mentorship, a network of incremental and iterative knowledge gathering and experimentation. Experimentation has a big place to do with it. So that's I think where the tool is. We created, although I'm very interested in high schools, we've been the past few years teaching a class. And we do it in 3 universities, and Chapman is one of them, and Claremont College is another one of them. Berkeley was the first one. And the class consists of enrolling undergrad students in college and graduate students into a startup. And we call this shadow program, right? So they were involved into a class and learn by doing. And this learning by doing was complemented by theoretical lessons given by the professor, but it was a complicated set of processes we designed to bring students into understanding what entrepreneurship is and what entrepreneur is facing. And they would then learn that on their own when they went into business plan competitions or hackathons or startup weekends, which are other exercises they have to go through, right, to learn. But the connection with the entrepreneur, learning how they fail, their doubts, their desire, their moment of difficulty, their moment of hope, all the things that happen in the entrepreneur's life, they need to see it. And the sooner they see that, the sooner they're going to be inspired. So for me, entrepreneurship is like TED. It's like a TED Talk. It's not just ideas worth spreading, it's practices worth teaching. So you have to create that energy right around students and new entrepreneurs. And if you create that context, I think the tools are going to be naturally designed around that.
So I'm starting to see kind of a contour where we're leveraging our talent through a network, we're accessing their expertise, and we're transmitting the expertise, and we're creating almost a flywheel somehow. Yeah. And Vivian, you don't have the benefit of hiding, because you said 10,000 small businesses, you're obviously trying to attack it in the macro way. What do you think about this strategy?
You're absolutely right. We are attacking it on a macro way. And I think the other side of it, too, is working with educational institutions. It's about reshaping and looking at how do entrepreneurs learn. And what we find in the classroom is they do learn through a lot of the experiential. They want to take what they've learned back into their business. They also want to teach their employees. And that's the part of they don't know what they don't know is the question is how then they then take what they've learned and bring that back into their business and teach their employees or engage their employees, and also delegate more and take the control away from themselves. So that's the kind of learning that we see as far as the platform. How do we scale the 10,000 small businesses? It's been very interesting because each year we introduce 3 new colleges. So now it's up to 12 colleges in 12 different cities. But still, in order to get 10,000, Goldman Sachs did the metrics and said, what else can we be doing? And they had always considered an online component. So there is a national cohort that's been formed, and they will do part in the classroom at Babson College and part online. And they'll have a business advisor and advisory services. So I think, in answer to part of your question as far as platform is, entrepreneurs learn in so many different ways, and there are so many tools that are out there. But we're looking at how do we encourage entrepreneurs to be lifelong learners, because that's really critical no matter what stage they are in their business, to want to be able to get the tools that they need.
Okay, so let's try to add it all together. I've asked these guys to do something big. You're going to earn your massive honoraria for sitting up here. The truth is they're doing it for free, but we're going to work them hard. And I'm actually going to invite everyone in the room to go through kind of a mental exercise, just for a moment. Let's just work this out. If we were to hack right now the ideal wraparound service for Southern California to serve entrepreneurs, perhaps leveraging the IFA project that's here, visualize and describe for me the best entrepreneurial support platform we could create. So describe what it would look like. This is a big job for a panel, isn't it? So I'm guessing all you all are thinking, and by the way, I keep on saying all, you can tell I'm a New Yorker stuck in the South. So it's what happens when you go do that. Okay, so who's going to start? Visualize for me and hack for me the ultimate system to support entrepreneurs.
My experience tells me that there's no wraparound service. It cannot exist. You indicated some statistics this morning about the degree of connectivity, right? And the number of connections, right, that entrepreneurs have together. I believe the wraparound service that you described or you try to picture is an open source platform, right? Is a platform where everybody participates. Everybody is part of the system, right? And it's going to be hard to capture it as a whole. I don't know how to define it, but experientially, I see so many constituents, so many players, so many stakeholders being involved in it, and we need to find a way that...
Tell me the players. What players do you see involved in it? Who are the players?
Well, certainly teachers, certainly parents, certainly incubators, accelerators, certainly investors, certainly governments, certainly all of the above, right? But the mom and the dad have the same importance as the government, right? You have to have a unified, aligned goal of promoting this sense of innovation that materializes itself for entrepreneurs as this mindset of doing things and not giving up and trying again and again and again. And that is beyond just small business.
You almost see it not only as a network, but as a culture.
It's a culture.
Creating a new
I
culture.
think it's a cultural change more than anything else.
But that's, I mean, that is happening. Like,
Right.
in LA in particular, like that cultural shift is occurring because all these entities are all playing ball. I'll give you a specific hack if you want to use that term. And I'm going to use the method that I basically have learned in entrepreneurship, which is I can create, but I largely, people call me a cobbler. I like to cobble things together that I didn't necessarily create, which is a very great entrepreneurial skill, by the way.
bet it
Don't
is.
feel bad about not being the original creator of something.
We used
But
to call it integration, by the way.
Integration, okay.
old
So
days.
there is a product that I use regularly that I think is phenomenal, and I think this model works really well. It's called Clarity, and it basically is a platform where people with expertise of any type, and it's largely business and entrepreneurship and stuff in the business realm right now, but the concept works across categories. Anybody with an expertise can post their expertise on this platform and charge by the minute to take a phone call with someone that wants to get that expertise. So it's a very win-win situation. The guy that has expertise gets paid for his time in a very fair way. The person that needs expertise can find someone that really, really, really understands what they're looking for in a very specific way. Yes, they're paying for it, but they know if they're going to pay someone for it, they're going to get a good result. They're not going to get someone that's like lazy or not in paying attention. So the model works very good, and the business actually makes money. So to the extent that you could find money to support a platform like that so people that couldn't afford to pay for it could get the service, but you actually empower the people that have the skills by paying them, which gets them to actually give the skill away. I've used it to get knowledge, and I've been paid to give knowledge, and it works phenomenally. It's very good.
Isn't it amazing that sometimes the people with the greatest amount of talent covet it and hide it and don't want to share it? They have to be given a vehicle to do it. And we're talking about making matches in very specific ways in some cases, right, Jeff?
Yeah,
It's extraordinary.
it's a cool platform.
So Vivian, you know, we're coming around to you. Can you bring us home somehow? So, you know, what does this look like? It's got to be massive. It's got to be multivariate, and it has to have multiple institutions involved. You've been working with institutions. So.
It is massive, and what's interesting is that last year I participated in a forum in New Orleans, and they were talking about their entrepreneur ecosystem. And so the more that we hear about entrepreneur ecosystems, I do think the more that we start to think of it in terms of not so much the individual organizations and the individual technical assistance programs and the financial funders and the government agencies and the chambers of commerce and the people that are on the education side all being separate pieces, but it's more about how do they not so much work collaboratively, but how do we take a business owner, no matter what stage, if they're a startup, if they are an established business, if they're going for investor funding, how do we take that business person through and walk them through getting the resources to the individuals? I mean, I've seen so much in the advocacy work that I've done with small business owners is the organizations are out there, the resources are out there, but is there a connector or is there a connection point of someone taking an individual business owner through that process and making it easier? So I do think that platform includes those introductions. And you know, it's interesting, Ted, because at the very beginning when you showed some stats, you and I talked about this, and you talked about, it was all focused around the deal makers, is, you know, for the small business owners, such a small percentage of them go after the equity funding side of it. Most of them are on the debt funding side. But that's what our entrepreneur ecosystem is really about, is how do we link the deal maker side, sitting between two of them, with the financial institutions and on the equity side, so that business owners know at all stages of growth in their business, they're going to have to anticipate how are they going to get access to that capital.
Okay, so my head hurts already, I'm sure, and I hope your juices are flowing. So, you know, I want to keep this conversation going, and you all need to come up and ask some questions, but I'm thinking, you know, the four things that we were building blocks were first culture, second network, third intermediate and brokerage functions of some kind, and fourth, taking Jeff's act, specialized matches, right? So there's some kind of thing there, and obviously institutions all play well. Last P, performance. Just for the sake of argument, how can we measure a successful outcome, both in terms of successful entrepreneurs and the ventures they operate, as well as our own internal progress, our own internal performance in building this type of system? So how would we measure ourselves? The last P is performance. How do we measure our progress? Lay out for me a measure. It's a tough one, isn't it?
Well, you
I told you
first.
you're going to get paid.
So, okay. Well, you know, what's so interesting is that that question just resonates so much because business owners, you know, the important piece of it is for business owners is metrics, that they have metrics. And so how would we measure that performance is I think it is about setting those metrics. We talk about our dashboards, but also it's about really monitoring the progress side of it. And so what could some of those metrics be for us is, you know, in the Southern California region, you know, we have a very critical mass of small business owners. And so for us, you know, an easy metric can be job creation. You know, the other side of increasing revenue is all of us have to work with our local governments, our state and our federal, but it's really the local governments. So, you know, I'd suggest another metric could be is how are we as business owners working with our local governments to make sure that we can participate in advantages of having our businesses in particular cities in that growth in the Southern California region. So, you know, I think there are different ways to look at not just a number, but the participation of small business owners in the job creation and the increase in the revenue, which means paying the taxes, and what we consider to be, I consider to be enriching lives. Because when business owners hire employees, they enrich people's lives.
Very nice, very good. Who else wants to take a shot?
I'll take a shot. From the investment standpoint, I think a measure of success will be the number of serial entrepreneurs that are constantly creating again and again and again. It's also the number of...
You're in my church, brother. You're in my church.
And also the number of entrepreneurs that are investors, right? The more entrepreneurs invest in other entrepreneurs, create this life cycle. So these are two metrics I'll be looking at. I think these are important ways to show the health, right, of a community of innovation.
I can't help but get up and go, hallelujah, hallelujah, God bless me. So, you know, what's amazing about this is it's a cycle of generosity. Yeah. Entrepreneurs give back. I don't know what it is, but, you know, when you're successful and you have a liquidity event, entrepreneurs right away invest in one another. Okay, let me just prove it. How many of you entrepreneurs, I raise the question, raise your hands. How many of you entrepreneurs? How many, when you're successful, will invest in another entrepreneurial venture? Okay, deal done. All right, Jeff, can you bring us home? What's the measure? How do we measure this thing?
I do like that. I think that is important. I mean, I think that there are a number of metrics that you can put into the ecosystem, like you were saying, and obviously the simple ones are, you know, how big were the exits, how much returns did we get, how many people did we hire. So I think those are all important to put in. But ultimately, the individual entrepreneurs sort of need to start measuring their own performance and starting to understand, like, what does it mean to be successful for yourself? And I think that's a very subjective gauge. And I tried to really, as an example, back on that class I did this summer, I tried to really get them to look at that question as like, well, what does success mean to me? Well, maybe it's just coming up with a cool idea. Like, I'd never come up with a cool idea before. So, I did that. And that experience was something new, and that was a win. You know, I think a lot of entrepreneurs jump to if I don't make $1 billion, I'm not a success. That's just not the case. And first of all, there's just going to be so few of those deals. But that doesn't mean you can't be hugely successful and impact the community and impact others and do things. So I think people should start to try and identify what those measures are on an individual level.
I think it's so nuanced, you know. I bet 400 people in the room, 400 different definitions of success. You know, let's be honest with ourselves. How many of you would just like to make a crap load of money? Can you raise your hand? How many would you? How many of you want to have impact in your community or society and change the world? By the way, most of them are raising their hands twice. So it tells you something, doesn't it? It's amazing. Usually, you know, the folks that want to, you know, monetize their opportunities are about wanting to make change anyways. I'm not saying those two things are coming together. All right, so here's where I want to invite you all in. Let's, we got a few more minutes for questions. Join us in this hack, would you? Come and ask some questions on how we think about entrepreneurship education in Southern California. So please.
Hi, Raleigh Waller, Impact Farms in Los Angeles. I hear a lot of discussion about small business. I hear about venture capital. The question for me isn't not so much how they learn, but what are they learning? How much of your curriculum is focused on this venture capital model here and this pursuing this 1% success rate versus what are we really investing in the local business development community? Thank
Yeah,
you.
so capacity, venture capital for high growth, high EBITDA, high return types of businesses relative to everything else that powers our economy and drives employment. How do we strike the balance?
Well, I mean, I think each of us kind of plays a different role. Like we are in the business of finding companies that go down that path. Along the way, there may be companies that raised money from angel investors and seed investments and found a path and they got an exit and someone made some money. And then, but the bulk of the investments that we make, just by nature of the way our fund is structured, we're looking for companies that can go raise venture capital, that can get to a very large exit, which is a very small percentage will have that success rate. But that's the model. That's the business. That's one part of the entire ecosystem. Investing in small businesses, which power, you know, really the bulk of our infrastructure and the jobs and stuff is another part of it, different model. I think they just play a different role. That's the one that I play in today.
So Jeff, you're spending day to day helping folks position their companies for exitability, for growth, for, you know, capitalization by, you know, folks that are looking for expansion, right?
I mean for big exits. But now that said, most of our companies won't make it that way. So it's also a matter of like identifying the path that you can get some sort of win. So if you have $500,000 in the company and it becomes clear that you're not going to be able to raise $100 million and go public, okay, what can you do?
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of successful exits that are in between the Facebooks and the zeros.
Right.
So we just can't invest looking for that necessarily, but we certainly won't, you know, throw away a company that sells for 20 or 30 million bucks.
So Vivian, be my the other side of the equation. It occurs to me, Goldman Sachs, you know, probably a premier private equity investor, invests in large businesses, growth, expansion, turnaround. They committed to 10,000 startups with the notion of creating a fat bottom, you know, creating more businesses. How do you see the opportunity that you're driving and the role of that in the economy?
Sure. Well, I think we all know as the majority of the businesses, while you would like to know more about equity funding, you want to know more about how to meet with the deal makers, is your business may not be even going down that path. So what are some of the other resources? You know, with the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program, the majority of the businesses, we work with them on really structuring what are their strategies, how do you forecast your growth, how will you measure that growth, and then on the other side of it is how can you be bankable? How do you sit in front of a banker, an investor, an angel investor potentially, a venture investor? But I think those are the pieces that business owners are really looking for. We have the Los Angeles Regional Small Business Development Center network that also provides training and one-on-one advising. But I think if I looked at the piece of the whole access to funding, is there are resources that are out there that really help business owners to position themselves to make sure that if it's not today that you get the yes on getting funding for your business, is how do you position that business so that you can get a yes along the way, and what are the use of those funds? You know, many times business owners have a great idea, they want to get funding for their business, but we drill. The question is, how are you going to use those funds, and what, you know, we have bankers from financial institutions, and how are you going to pay back that loan, or how are you going to pay back to your investors? So I just want to suggest to you there are resources out there that are specifically focused on a majority of the business owners who don't really go for the investor funding.
Do you want to? So can I ask the gentleman who just raised that question, what opportunities do you see in Southern, could you come up to the microphone? What opportunities do you see in Southern California for growth in the traditional small business sector? Are there areas that you would like to highlight that you think are opportunities?
My concept for the opportunity is, I mean, we were all aware of the extractive corporate entities here, which are the 1% that everybody seems to be focused on, but the development of what I call a commons, or the ability to, as Buckminster Fuller would say, feed, you know, how many people can you feed for how many numbers of days? That's a measure of wealth. So I think there's other measures of wealth, Elizabeth's triple bottom line here, that need to be part of developing a viable, sustainable local economy here, and that's where I'm focused on. The replacing our industrial infrastructure with agricultural infrastructure, replacing traditional agriculture with technology here, repurposing or saving money for social situations, creating value the way corporations create value by cutting employees.
Yeah,
so I think the focus
really
needs
good.
to be on how we can improve our yield from our investment. We certainly get a poor return on our medical insurance investment. So how do we get people healthier rather than just spend more money on insurance?
That's a really nice contribution. And you know, I just, if you don't mind, share, if I could share at Kauffman, we talk about it as the high growth paradigm. And it's important that we don't distort our view of the full economy by just focusing on the 5x multiple or better businesses that are being created, you know, that are leading to exitability. That high growth paradigm is very important for us to keep focused on. But you know, that 3x services business, when you think about Southern California, logistics, media, services, very long and employment driving sectors that, and consumer discretionary sectors that are going to drive employment. Let me see if I can get a couple more questions in before we're out of time. Sir, please.
Thank you. Jim Pinto, Caltex Marketing. As an entrepreneur, I've been asked many times about the different facets of how do you find skilled people. So I took the liberty of researching this and published a paper called Hands on America. And to my surprise, there's over 680,000 jobs go unfilled in America today because they don't have skill sets. Taking a clear look at this, developed a strategy on how to put a program together to train people. A good example is the average CNC machinist here in America today is 54 years old. The average tool and die maker is 60. How are you going to reshore America with all these jobs when that age group is going into retirement very soon? How do you're able to fund a nonprofit organization to do this teaching? I have that strategy.
So I'm hearing a couple things. The deficits of trade-based learning that needs to occur. This is more rank and file. Then the other issues around finding the fit for specialized needs in the economy that aren't being otherwise addressed.
Entrepreneurs like myself can't find people.
Right, can't find people to solve, you know, important pieces of building their jobs. Who would like to tackle that?
It's a good question, man. I mean, I totally see that problem. One of the challenges is that the younger generations, there's a little bit of like entitlement that goes into those generations, and it's tough to get someone coming out of that's like passionate about the world to like learn about a CNC machine. And that's not to say that's not a great path for that person. That could be, but I think that plays into it, and I'm not exactly sure how to solve that, because there probably are a lot of people that could end up having a great career path going down that route, and there is a lot of those kind of functional jobs. So there is some cultural shifting that needs to happen younger if we want our young people to kind of fill those gaps. And there's also the whole challenge of whether or not those jobs are staying here in the US, because you can get similar things done cheaper elsewhere. So that plays into it as well. But I definitely see young people like having this passion to change the world, and the thought of becoming a CNC, no offense to anyone that is a CNC operator, which is freaking rad, by the way. Those are like the precursors to engineers. Anybody that's an engineer, a software engineer, the people that were before software engineer was a big thing, they were building stuff with machines. So, but I think that plays into it a little bit, and I'm not sure how to solve that.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing that, but this is exactly what this paper is about.
It's fascinating.
The next generation renaissance in manufacturing today is going to be additive manufacturing. It's growing parts.
Yeah.
Unless you know how to program a CNC machine,
Yeah.
you can't develop that.
That's a great point. So if you can tie in like engineering and programming into manufacturing, which is happening with 3D printing and so forth, if we can create a revolution around physical creation of mechanical parts using programming and technology and stuff, you can probably inspire a lot of young people to get involved in that space and create a lot of jobs that way.
What
I
you
got
have
two
to
things
do
I'd
is
like to
take
contribute.
the young
I'm sorry, sir, we'll have to probably move in. I just want to contribute two things real quick. The first thing is we're in love at Kauffman with the makers movement. And you know what's going on with the makers movement, the notion of makers fairs that are going around. This is about getting people who create things and make things and celebrate that. but do it more seriously. The other thing is, if I was having a massive heart attack right now, I'd say, is there a doctor in the house? Or someone would, I hope, on my behalf. In this problem, I'd say, is there a community college educator in the house? Could you raise your hands, community college educators? I mean, no kidding, we need trade-based training, right? We need to train for these needs, and community colleges are best positioned to figure out what the employers need and go and solve those jobs, right? So thanks for Long Beach. Please, sir.
Great. Dr. Sidney Edwards, biotechnology investment professional. I've had the opportunity now to work in Boston, Silicon Valley, as well here as Los Angeles, and my question really is, as you look at those three different regions, how do you think of product-based economies versus service-based economies? Because there's some questions in terms of, as the Los Angeles region really sort of figured out its DNA, is it predominantly service or is it predominantly product? And when I say product, meaning IP-driven, patent-driven, because information you presented, Ted, has important implications. So what are the thoughts, bearing in mind patents and the product? So
and what are the three communities you mentioned?
Boston, the Silicon Valley, and the Los Angeles Orange County region.
I'm prepared to throw in some ideas, but they're very different regions.
Yeah.
You have some answers already for that.
I don't know if I have answers, but I do know that every region has a different set of mixes. The mix is very different. The industries that are competent here are not necessarily the competencies you'd find in Boston. If I were in Boston, there's no doubt I'd be putting the gas in life sciences and what's happening in bioinformatics and where the future of medicine is going. That's going to be Boston's future. Silicon Valley is the future of the transition to the web. And I believe that a lot of the work, you're going to find a lot of intersections between the syndicates that are operating in Silicon Valley and those that are operating in Southern California. See it all the time. In fact, most of the money flows from Northern California to Southern California. I think LA, and particularly if I want to address Long Beach, I think there's some amazing opportunities in exploiting your position with Hollywood right here in the media technology, you know, now democratizing media. The talent base that's been in production shops now is being opened up on the web, so I think it's an exciting opportunity. The other thing that's just fabulous about this region is logistics. But I was very impressed by the amount of diversity. The other thing I got to tell you is it's got to be a multi-pronged piece, because 26 million people live in the Los Angeles CSA, the Consolidated Statistical Area, which is Southern California in general. And you know, that's larger than 95% of all states. It's an extraordinary ecosystem. So there's no one answer.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I think the piece you just mentioned confirms a number of things. I started looking at data. LA, in terms of biotech revenues, exceeds that of many other regions. Number of Nobel Prize, number of patents. So those are very interesting. You're onto something around LA and Hollywood. We have some very unique assets here, so I'm working actually with Stanford University. They've actually invited me up to give a talk on this topic. It turns out Los Angeles is a sleeping giant.
It's a totally
It has.
And guess what? Look at what's happening in Bollywood.
Precisely.
I'll give you an example. It's extraordinary.
Exactly.
And think what we could do with that.
Los Angeles has some interest. So as we think about metaphors, I want people to think about this idea. It's a sleeping giant. It's around brand identity and digging into the data. I think, Ted, you started some stuff. So I'd like to talk with you afterwards, because there's some other cuts we might want to look at in that data.
There's a lot to be done. I mean, how have you guys been, as you're dealing with the businesses on the ground, where are you seeing the big opportunities here? If you were just to say, where should LA in general, and maybe this part of Los Angeles, where should we focus our energies? What markets seem most attractive?
It's not just LA, it's a very large area. It's not like Silicon Valley where with half an hour, 45 minutes, you can go from one place to the other, right? So LA has its own, Long Beach has its own, Orange County has its own, San Diego has its own. I don't think there is one single answer. What do we invest? And I think you can attest to that, Jeff, as well. There are buckets of specializations between media and digital and software. There is probably in Orange County more medical device and hardcore back-end software than there is mobile and advertisement that is more prevalent in LA. There's probably more biotech in research, at least in San Diego, but not as much industrialization. So there are buckets of opportunities everywhere. The difficulty is that people cannot connect enough, right? So that geographical distance limits our ability to connect more and to create more leverage. For that reason, I think we need to identify different buckets that could be self-sufficient geographically, unless we find other ways to communicate or maybe more ubiquitous. But somebody mentioned this morning that it takes huge time between just LA and Orange County. So for that reason, it's not easy. So startups the same way connect with each other, and investors connect with each other. So the specializations are going to be based on what historically, right, that region have been good at. So where the good wins are in LA or San Diego. So that's probably not the full answer, but
It's a very good answer, actually. It's a good way to approach it. Vivian, do you want to?
I would totally agree with Amir. I think the other part that we have the riches in Southern California of having so much diversity, not only in the types of businesses that you can start here because of the support of the region, but I also think we have two of the largest ports in the world here. And so there's so much that can go on internationally for many of the businesses to be able to export. So, as we look at the future for businesses I work with some of the workforce investment boards, and what we're looking at is how do we strengthen what is good in each one of the areas within our region and not try to be the next Silicon Valley, but really look at what are our resources in our community so that we're looking at focusing on those clusters of the industry that can be the strongest in a particular area, because with the infrastructure in Southern California, you just can't travel everywhere very quickly. And for business owners, there's an expense to doing that too. So how do we strengthen the areas?
So we've been on time all morning, and we have to stay on time. But sir, we're going to make the panel available to you on a one-on-one basis right after this. So if you could just come up right afterwards, we'll take your question individually. We're between the panel's between us and lunch, right? So I want to invite everyone to continue the hack. Over your lunch tables, try to hack what would ultimately be the model ecosystem for Southern California, and how would you build it? Like I said this morning, it all boils down to your leadership. So I want to thank my panelists for joining me today, and I thought it was a really terrific conversation. Keep the wheels turning, though, during lunch, if you could. Thank you very much.